She waited every day at the station, but the person she waited for never returned. Every day for 27 years, she waited. My name is Elara Vance, now 56, and I stood on the same spot on platform number 3, at the old city train station. People called me mad. They'd whisper as they passed, their eyes filled with pity, or sometimes, with a cruel, detached curiosity. They'd see the faded photo in my hands, a picture of a smiling young man, and they'd shake their heads. But I knew he was coming back. I knew he would step off that train, his smile as bright as the day he left. He was my love, my life, and I waited for him, for 27 years. She waited every day at the station, but the person she waited for never returned, until one day, I found the truth in the most unexpected way. His name was Liam. We were both 29 when he left. It was a cold, gray morning. He was an engineer, and he had been offered a job in another city. A good job, a life-changing job, he said. We stood on platform number 3, a place that would become my second home, my place of hope, my place of silent waiting. He held my hand, his eyes filled with a mixture of excitement and sadness. I'll be back, Elara, he promised, his voice a low, reassuring murmur. I'll be back in a year, and we'll be together forever. He gave me a small, faded photograph of himself, a picture he had taken a few months before, his smile bright and full of life. It was a promise, a physical testament to a love that felt unshakable. My parents, Mary and Robert Vance, both in their late 70s now, had warned me. A year is a long time, Elara, my mother had said, her eyes filled with a mother's concern. People change. My father, a quiet, stoic man, had just looked at me with a profound sadness in his eyes. My best friend, Sarah, 56, had been more direct. Just wait for him, Elara, she had said. But don't lose yourself in the waiting. Life goes on. But I couldn't move on. My life, my entire existence, was a holding pattern. I worked at the local library, a quiet, peaceful job that allowed me to spend my evenings, my weekends, my entire existence, waiting. I would go to the station every day, rain or shine. I would sit on the same bench, at the same spot, at the same time. I would hold the faded photograph, my fingers tracing his smiling face, and I would wait. A year passed. Then too, the letters, which had been so frequent at first, became more sporadic, then stopped altogether. I wrote to him, long, rambling letters, filled with my hopes, my fears, my unending love. I would send them to the address he had given me. They all came back, marked, address unknown. My heart, which had been so full of hope, started to crack. But I didn't stop. I couldn't. I held on to the promise, the memory, the photograph. The years blurred into a long, monotonous existence. I grew older. My parents grew frailer. Sarah got married, had kids, a beautiful, full life. I was just there, a static figure, a ghost in a world that was moving on without me. The station changed. The old wooden benches were replaced with new plastic ones. The old steam trains gave way to sleek, modern ones. The old, familiar faces of the ticket clerks and vendors were replaced with new ones. But I stayed the same. A woman, growing older, holding a photograph, a silent testament to a love that had never ended. The station people, the ones who had been there for a long time, knew my story. The old station master, Mr. Johnson, now in his 80s, would sometimes come and talk to me. He's not coming back, Elara, he would say, his voice kind, gentle. You have to move on. But I couldn't. I would just shake my head, a sad smile on my face, and say, he promised. My parents, in their final years, had made a plea. Please, Elara, my mother had said, her eyes filled with a profound sadness. He wouldn't want you to live like this. He would want you to be happy. My father, his voice a hoarse whisper, had just held my hand, his silent grief a reflection of my own. But I couldn't. I was a monument to a promise, a living testament to a love that was still alive in my heart. The years were a silent, unspoken grief. I would go to the station, I would wait, and I would go home. My apartment, once filled with our shared dreams, our shared memories, was now a museum of a life that had never happened. I kept everything of his. His books, his clothes, his old, beat-up guitar. I would sometimes sit in his old chair, with his old sweater, and I would pretend he was there. I would talk to him, tell him about my day, about the new books at the library, about Sarah's kids. It was a coping mechanism, a way to keep him alive, a way to keep my sanity. My family, my friends, had tried to help me. Sarah had set me up on blind dates, had tried to get me to go out, to meet new people. But my heart was a closed book. I couldn't. How could I? I was waiting for Liam. My heart, my soul, my entire being, was still in that past, on that platform, a 29-year-old girl waiting for her love to return. The old people at the station, the ones who had known my story, started to pass away. The new people, the younger generation, would look at me with pity, with a detached curiosity. I was a local legend, a ghost story, a tale of a girl who waited for a love that never returned. They called me, the station ghost. It was a Tuesday afternoon. The sun was setting, casting a long, golden shadow on platform 3. I was sitting on my usual bench, holding the faded photograph, my heart a familiar, quiet ache. A young man, maybe 30, was waiting for a train. He was a new face, a tourist, maybe. He looked at me, at the photograph in my hands, and a look of profound shock crossed his face. He walked up to me, hesitant, his eyes filled with a mixture of confusion and disbelief. Excuse me, ma'am, he said, his voice a low, gentle murmur. Is that Liam Vance? I looked up at him, my heart pounding in my chest. No, I said, my voice a hoarse whisper. His name is Liam Sterling. He's an engineer. He went to work in another city. He's coming back. The young man's face, which had been so full of disbelief, now turned to profound sadness. My name is Ethan Sterling, he said, his voice trembling. Liam Sterling was my father. My world, which had been a static, unchanging existence, suddenly shattered. My hands trembled, the faded photograph a testament to a love that was a lie. No, I said, shaking my head, a frantic, desperate denial. No, that's impossible, he's coming back, he promised. Ethan pulled out his wallet, a small, worn photograph in his hand. It was a picture of him and his father, a man with a kind smile and an ocean of sadness in his eyes. A man who looked older, but was undeniably, unmistakably, Liam. My father, Ethan said, his voice choked with emotion. He never told me about you. He never told me about this. He then gave me a letter he had found in his father's things, a letter addressed to me, to Elara Vance. I took the letter, my hands trembling. The handwriting was his, the same handwriting I had seen in his old letters, the same handwriting I had hoped to see again for 27 years. I opened it, my heart a frantic, aching mess. The letter was a confession. A beautiful, heartbreaking confession. He had gone to the other city. He had found a new life, a new job, a new love. A woman named Claire. She was kind, gentle, loving. He had fallen in love with her. He had married her. They had a son, Ethan. He was a happy man. He had a family, but he couldn't let go of me. He wrote about our love, our memories, our promise. He wrote about his guilt, his profound, unending sorrow for breaking his promise. He wrote about wanting to come back, to tell me the truth, to ask for my forgiveness. But he couldn't destroy my life. He couldn't tell me he had found another love. He couldn't break my heart. So he chose the easy way out. He stopped writing. He disappeared. He let me wait. My heart, which had been so full of a profound, silent grief, was now filled with a new, more terrible pain. A pain of betrayal. A pain of a love that was a lie. A pain of a life that was a waste. 27 years. 27 years of waiting for a man who was happily married, who had a son, who had moved on. 27 years of holding on to a promise that was broken the moment he fell in love with someone else. The letter was a confession, a final, heartbreaking goodbye. He had been a good man. A kind man. A man who loved me. But he was also a man who was weak. A man who couldn't face the truth. A man who had let me wait, for 27 years, a ghost in a world that was moving on without me. I looked up at Ethan, his eyes filled with a deep, profound sadness. He had a mother. He had a father who had loved him, who had raised him, who had given him a life. A father who was also a man who had broken a promise, a man who had left a woman waiting at a train station for 27 years. I didn't say anything, I just stood there, the faded photograph of a young, smiling man in one hand, and the heartbreaking letter from an older, wiser man in the other. The trains, the people, the noise, all of it was a blur. I was just there, a woman who had finally found the truth. I went home. The apartment, which had been a museum of a past that had never happened, was now a museum of a lie. The books, the clothes, the old beat-up guitar, all of it was a testament to a man who had moved on, a man who had a new life, a new love, a new family. I went to Sarah's house, my best friend. I gave her the letter, the photograph, the devastating truth. She read it, her face a pale, horrified mask. She had told me, she had tried to warn me, but I didn't listen. I went to my parents' graves. I sat there, a silent, weeping wreck, and I told them everything. I told them about Liam, about his new life, about his new family. I told them I was sorry. I was sorry for not listening. I was sorry for not moving on. I was sorry for a life that was a waste. I was no longer the station ghost. I was just Elara, a woman who had finally found the truth. A woman who had waited for a love that was a lie. And in that moment, as the sun set, casting a long, golden shadow on my parents' graves, I finally let him go. I finally let go of the promise, the photograph, the lie. And for the first time in 27 years, I finally started to live.